Jai Go Premanande.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining us this Sunday for Sunday Feast. You can now all turn your seats and face this big seat where we'll have a talk now by His Grace Dravida Dasa Brahmachari Prabhu. There was some mix-up on the newsletter, but Dravida Prabhu is our speaker tonight. Dravida Prabhu, if anyone here is unfamiliar with Dravida Prabhu, he's been a brahmachari here for about 35 years. Brahmachari means monk. He's been a brahmachari monk here for about 35 years. But he's been practicing Krishna consciousness now for 50 years. He's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And he's been doing a lot of service over all of those decades in editing books for the Krishna consciousness movement, books and other material. So he'll give a talk now. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Sorry. No, I have my. Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome. We're going to sing a little song that our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada sang before every class. And since it's in Bengali, many of you probably won't understand what the words mean, so I'm going to read the translation. Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Braja and the holder of the great hill named Govardhan. That's for which this yatra, this temple has been named. That's why you see in every corner, you see Krishna holding up that hill. See? Nice sculpture. He is the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the delighter of the inhabitants of Braja, it's Vrindavan, and he wanders in the forest alone, he wanders in the forest along the banks of the river Yamuna. So some of you may not know that song. Do you know the song? Yeah, you can take this. We have a few more too. You need it. Ready? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jayan Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So tonight I'd like to speak a little bit about the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is an incarnation of Krishna who appeared about 540 years ago now in Bengal, in Navadvip, Mayapur. And Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago, and he taught the Bhagavad Gita most famously. those of you who are familiar with Bhagavad Gita, which simply means the song, Gita, of God, Bhagavan. And that Bhagavad Gita is essential for understanding the basics and really the final goal also of spiritual life and of human life. This is one of the things that Srila Prabhupada taught us, and that is that we have a mission in human life. And it's not simply to enjoy, it's not simply to make our way in this world for 60, 70, 80, 90 years, and then be finished. That's not how it works. So before I begin, I'm going to offer my respects to Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession of spiritual masters. So let me just put this on record. Okay. So on the second day of June, 2024 in San Diego, we're speaking at the Krishna Sunday Festival in San Diego. And I'm going to quote a few verses, beginning with one in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's why I mentioned Chaitanya. Oh, please not on the ground. Just yeah, maybe someone can come and take it. You can hold it. Yeah, you can put it here. So Srila Prabhupada, he gave us so many books of instruction, beginning with the Bhagavad Gita, most famously. That was published first in 1968 in an abridged edition. He didn't want it to be abridged, but that was all that he could get at that time. And then in 1972, we were able to publish the unabridged Bhagavad Gita as it is, which is about 900 to 1,000 pages as opposed to 400. And that contains the essential teachings of Krishna on spiritual life, very important. And as you may know, it's at least 100 or more English translations of this Bhagavad Gita over the years. But Srila Prabhupada named his as it is, especially because it really can only be understood by a devotee of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee of Krishna. And so he gave the Bhagavad Gita the commentary that he wrote, and he also based it on previous spiritual masters' commentary. So it's very authoritative, and that's available in the bookstore and on the book table, I'm sure. But he also gave us other books. His great opus, if you will, was now an 18-volume Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam means the beautiful book about Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that belongs to a genre, if you will, of spiritual books called the Puranas. Puranas are ancient histories in Sanskrit, written by sages in the East, in India. And they give essential instruction on who we are, what our mission in life is, and how we can achieve perfection. But Srimad Bhagavatam is unique in that it speaks, it says, here is Krishna, he is the ultimate manifestation of the Godhead, and here's the process of understanding him. And here is what he did when he came to this earth. He gave us demonstrations of what he's doing in the spiritual world. This is one of the main things we learn when we come to Krishna consciousness, that this plane of existence that we're so familiar with, the earth planet and what we know as our life in this world, is not the only plane of existence. Let me put it that way. There are higher material planets, which we call heavens. There's Indra, where you live a lot longer, you have a much stronger and more healthy and long-lived body, and you enjoy all kinds of wonderful pleasures that can't be had on this material plane. But like the earth, like life on the earth, it's also temporary. It may last for thousands of years, but ultimately you die and you come back here. So that's not the ultimate goal, according to Krishna. We want to, in simple words, return, as Srila Prabhupada said 1,000 times or more, go back home, back to Godhead, back home. Now that, of course, implies we were there. That's our home. What's the real home? Place where no one can kick you out, where you feel comfortable, right? You own it. In other words, it's there's no anxiety. Where do you find that here? You have the illusion of that here. So we were all exiles from there. We're refugees, if you will, from the spiritual world. This is part of the teachings. And I'm going to read some of the verses from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now, this is the life and teachings of that incarnation that I mentioned, who appeared just 540 years ago or so. And he came especially to teach what we're so famous for, this chanting and dancing, and chanting Hare Krishna and dancing. And he gave that as this is the simple process. For this age, it's especially meant. It comes up. We have, by the way, we have a Bhagavad Gita class that I've been teaching now since I came here in '89. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Used to have Thursday, but now Thursday we have this Krishna Lounge here program. And we've been going through this Bhagavad Gita as it is. We're now in the 8th chapter, attaining the Supreme, and there's so much important instructions there. So that's available. You can see it on YouTube. Anywhere you can get YouTube, you can see it there. No charge. And if you want to, you can also go on Zoom and you can ask questions like that. So that's available. So this incident takes place. Returning to this Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is also available in our bookstore. And Lord Chaitanya, he had a very interesting life. He only stayed on the planet for 48 years. But all of his pastimes as a child and then as a young sannyasi, he took renunciation at age 24, which is pretty early. And then he preached all over India. He went to a city called Jagannath Puri. You see the deities there on the right altar. Those are called our Jagannath deities. And the Jagannath means Lord of the Universe. His brother Balaram on the left, and between them, Lord Krishna's sister, Subhadra. And every year, there's this wonderful festival. We may try to get it together this year to have a small one here. We used to have every year, before the pandemic. Then they would have every year a festival in the park, Balboa Park, based on the environment in coordination with Earth Day. And we would go there. But when the pandemic started, they stopped that, and so we don't have a given venue, but we're working on having it and keep posted. And but in Los Angeles, since 1977, this would be just before Srila Prabhupada left the planet, there's been a beautiful Rath Yatra on Venice Beach. And that will happen usually it's always the first Sunday in August, unless it's Ekadashi, which is today. Twice a month is special holidays. And so watch for that, because that's a beautiful festival. You're chanting with these 3 carts and these deities, bigger ones, one on each cart. And then at the end, there's kirtan, there are plays, there are all kinds of wonderful prasadam, juice, and things like that. So Lord Chaitanya, he would base his whole teaching on this chanting and dancing. Chanting the mantra and dancing at the same time, and they're becoming absorbed in the sound of the holy name. So he had many disciples, and one of the main ones, maybe his first disciple, was his name Sanatana Goswami. Goswami means a controller of the senses, someone who's renounced, who does a lot of austerity and chanting and traveling and preaching. So Lord Chaitanya took sannyasa at 24, and then shortly thereafter, Sanatana Goswami and his brother Rupa, they surrendered to Lord Chaitanya as his first disciples. So this is the Sanatana Goswami approaching Lord Chaitanya and surrendering to him. And something I learned just recently, both Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami were younger than Lord Chaitanya. Yes. They were 20, 21. You would think they were finance minister and the prime minister of the king. They were very precocious, just like Mukunda. He gives Bhagavatam class. I saw it on YouTube. So here's the question. Now this is Sanatana Goswami. He was the prime minister, in the government. And when Lord Chaitanya came to Ramkeli, where he was, and they both surrendered to him, he said, "Go to Vrindavan. This is the holy place where Lord Krishna enacted his childhood pastimes, the holiest place on the planet. And you simply write books and you excavate all of the lost places of past times, and if you can, build temples like that. He gave them, and they did that. So this is the first place. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, you may know that city. That's a city, a holy city where there's many impersonalists. But that was the city that Lord Chaitanya happened to be in. So Sanatana went there, and when he met Lord Chaitanya, there's a whole story about how he met him. But here is his question. I'll just do the Bengali, it'll take 10 seconds. Ke ami kene amai jarai tapatrai, iha nahi jani kemani hitohoi. And this is also for us. This is a question. He asked Lord Chaitanya, who am I? Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I do not know this, how can I be benefited? So this question of who am I means, who am I in my essence, if you will? Now it says, well, who am I? Well, I'll just pull out my driver's license. There's my name, my address, there's a little picture of me, right? Eye color, like that. That's me. No, it's not. That's the designation of the body. But you are not the body. This is the first lesson you learn. You are not the body, you're pure spirit soul. You're the consciousness within the body. And although the body is born and grows and changes and ultimately dies, the soul doesn't. We were never born and we will never die. Now that's kind of encouraging, I think. But the thing is that unless we understand that and live on that basis, we'll identify with the body. This is called the false ego, the false sense of self. And therefore, and then these threefold miseries, I'll explain to them. We're all familiar with them. You may not know them as such. We're very aware these days of what is called adi-daivic miseries. Daiva means caused by the devas, or the higher beings. Those who control the weather, the earth. I heard there was a couple of little earthquakes, a little east of us lately. I remember when I first came here in '89, first thing I did was look up, what is this San Andreas fault? How close is it to where I'm going to be living, right? Because I know it's very powerful, and it hadn't been an earthquake in a while. So I was relieved to find that where we are, it's a little bit to our east. So so far we've had earthquakes, but not the big one. But that's just one form of adi-daivic. You can't do anything about them. Just like these tornadoes that just rip through a certain part of America, you probably understand. What can you do about them? They're huge forces of nature, and then you just have to pray, and then try to have enough insurance to cover it, And then there's hurricanes, and some of them are like this climate change. Say, oh, climate change, that must be adi-daivic. But is it? It's also controlled, anthropogenic climate change. It's all of these greenhouse gases we've been pouring into the atmosphere for what, 50, 60, 70, 80 years now. And they've accumulated, right? This is what the scientists say. The waters, a lot of the heat has been absorbed by the ocean. That also affects the weather, all these things. So there's a kind of a mixture. We are causing it, human beings, but at the same time, it's under the jurisdiction, if you will, of these higher powers that you can't change. So that's one kind of misery. Then there's adi-bhautic. We're all familiar with this. You may not know the name. Miseries caused by other living beings. Now, oftentimes, let's face it, it's human beings. They may be nearby. They may, do something. Some government official, like in Washington, some comes to power and they decrease the EPA, so it's more likely you'll have some poison in your water, like that, whatever. So this is adi-bhautic miseries, and let's face it. The COVID, I don't know, are these viruses considered living? They're kind of borderline, but let's assume they're living entities, So that's also adi-daivic. But that then moves into the third one, which is adi-atmic, your own body and mind. After you get infected by this disease, it's your own body that's reacting, that's causing, suffering. So we're familiar with all these. It's not that we don't know about them. And we try to live a life counteracting them. One of the big ways, like the adi-atmic miseries, which is a disease, health insurance, right? It's a big thing. You have to have health insurance so that if you get sick, you can afford to get cured. And adi-bhautic, Well, on a you know, a local platform, or like you tell your family, okay, keep all the doors locked, you know, and you tell your children, be careful, don't speak to strangers, you know, stuff like that. And Adi Baltic, well, then we have the Defense Department. You know, that's on the large level, so that they won't, you know, we can, and then on the locally we have the police, and we have all these. So in this way we try to allay them, but eventually one or more of those is impinging upon us. And eventually one of, the big one is that your body has an expiration date. Eventually that's such a misery. This is birth, old age, disease, and death. This is another part of the Vedic culture, is that the basic aim of human life, goal of human, is to break that cycle of samsara, that birth, old age, disease, and death, which we've been going through for we don't know how many millions of times, but we forget. This is Krishna's mercy. This is part of, he's in our heart as the super soul. So we don't know. Does anyone here remember their last life in any detail? Abhi? No? Okay. Of course not. That's part of it. So if we remember not just the last one, but all the previous ones, we couldn't live. We'd have the most massive case of PTSD you can imagine, right? So much anxiety. Oh my God. Oh, you just go along, you know. But that we know, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, the very first lesson is Jayate mriyate va kadacha nayam budbhava vitavanabuya. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. It's not that a lot of souls are coming into being and a lot are going out of being. No. We're all as eternal as Krishna is. Ajo nitya shashvato yam purana nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Aja means we're unborn, eternal, ever-existing, primeval. We are not slain when the body is slain. The body is ultimately slain by something natural causes or by some unnatural causes. But it's a machine. Every machine breaks down. So now, going back to this question, who am I? Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I don't know this, how can I be benefited? I'm going to read this short purport. It's just one paragraph. Prabhupada says, the threefold material miseries I just explained are miseries arising from the body and the mind, miseries arising from dealings with other living entities, and miseries arising from natural disturbances. Sometimes we suffer bodily when we are attacked by a fever, and sometimes we suffer mentally when a close relative dies. Other living entities also cause us misery. There are living entities born of the human embryo, of eggs, perspiration, vegetation. Miserable conditions brought about by natural catastrophes are controlled by the higher demigods. There may be severe cold or thunderbolts, or a person may be haunted by ghosts. These threefold miseries are always before us, and they entrap us in a dangerous situation. Padam padam yad vipadam. There is danger at every step. So, and Sanatana Goswami says, if I don't know this, then what do I really know? What's the point? So then Lord Chaitanya prays, and you already know the answers to this, you know, because he's learned, but he's asking for our sake, and he will answer him. So then there's a verse that Lord Chaitanya speaks, which is essential here. Who am I? He says here, this is Bengali, I'll give you a translation. Jivera swarupoi Krishnera nityadas. Krishnera tatasta shakti beda beda prakash. So the first thing, who are we really eternally? The Swarup. Swarup means our actual inner form as spirit souls, not these ever-changing material bodies, you see, the one that doesn't change. Our eternal form and function is to be eternal servants of Krishna, is the living entity's constitutional position, that's Prabhupada's phrase, to be an eternal servant of Krishna, because he is the marginal energy of Krishna. I'll probably use the he means. I mean, he means the living entity. That's the second, tatasta shakti. Now we're very familiar here on the beach with the tatasta phenomenon. When you go down to the ocean and you see the tides, the ocean is coming in, the waves going out. So that part that is sometimes covered, sometimes uncovered, is like the tatasta, marginal. So that's us. We're sometimes covered and sometimes uncovered. All of us now are covered to a more or less degree now, meaning that we're identifying with something we're not, namely this body and extensions of the body. That's an illusion. And so until we understand who we are and regain that identity in our daily activities as Krishna's eternal servants, we can never be truly happy. We can have some illusion of happiness for some time, but time always destroys it. This is what time is. Some of you may have heard of or maybe even seen that movie Oppenheimer. I didn't see the movie, but I know something about Oppenheimer. He was the main scientist in charge of building the atom bomb during the war. There was a movie made about him. So you may not notice, he was a student of Bhagavad Gita. Yes, he would read it regularly. And when that first bomb blew up, he quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, at least one line of it. He's seeing that. You can imagine how that would be. I read this long ago, that the other scientists in Oppenheimer were not really positive that when they blew up that atom bomb, they wouldn't blow up the whole world. So, well, we've got to take the risk. Thanks a lot. So anyway, it didn't, obviously. But it was huge. You can imagine what it was like to see that first atom bomb blow up. So he saw that. He quoted this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter. Kalosmi loka chayakrit pavidho. And goes on. I forget all the details. But what he says, Arjuna wanted to know. Arjuna was Krishna's friend. And he wanted to see the universal form, God in his expansion as a universe, And so Krishna showed him that, and it was very frightening. I won't go into detail. You read the 11th chapter. And so Arjuna, this is not my friend. Your new friend, like Krishna looks there, threefold bending form, very delightful. The universal form was not delightful. It was scary. Thousands of mouths and, destroying the universe. So Arjuna asked Krishna, he says, who are you? So Krishna, time I am, the destroyer of everything. And I've come to destroy, this whole universe ultimately. So then shortly thereafter, Arjuna said, go back to the twofold hand again, please, They're on the card, and Krishna did that. But the point is that this time factor is what destroys all of our plans. What do we want in this world? We want happiness, we want pleasure, and we want security. What's the use if I get a little flickering pleasure and then COVID comes, right? Well, that pandemic taught us a lot. Everybody in the world, I think, was much more conscious of his breathing, his and her breathing, than they were before, right? Don't we kind of forget about it? I didn't think about it just till now, today, breathing. Because if you do a little pranayama, that's one thing. But the point is that generally we just take it for granted. But that's just the point. You can't take the living situations for granted, because ultimately it becomes untenable. If nothing else, just old age and disease, and you can't live anymore. So is that all that life is? Because the first thing we have to remember, we don't die. I made up this little poem, Every body dies. Who can deny it? Every single body dies. The cat's body dies, the dog body dies, this body dies. So every body dies, nobody dies. As a soul, nobody dies, you see? Everybody dies, nobody dies. Wake up and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. Now what is that goal? The goal is, go back to Godhead, to realize this verse. Krishna tatasta Shakti. Now we are Shakti, we are Krishna's energy. You see? Spiritual energy, conscious energy. And what is this tatasta? On the margin. We're marginal energy. We're by nature spiritual, but we have a tendency, because we're minute, to be covered by the material energy and to become an illusion that we're this particular body, whatever we may happen to be. Dog, cat, tree, insect, Now, on a tree body, consciousness is very much covered. Otherwise, they couldn't stand like that for 100 years, and not be able to move, But there's still conscious being in there. And eventually they'll leave that body. The body will be cut down or whatever, And then they go up to the next one, next one, next one, next one. That's evolution. Not that the body is evolving. The soul consciousness is evolving, becoming more and more aware until you come to the human form. Now the human form is a great gift, because only in the human form do we have enough intelligence to inquire about these questions from the right source, get the right answers, and then engage in what's called sadhana bhakti or dharma to eventually awaken our consciousness of this, who we are. And what's the result? When we leave this body, we go back to Godhead. You see? No more coming to this, birth, death, old age, and disease, and the threefold miseries. That's the idea. So the Swarup, this is our nature. And those of us who have been practicing Krishna consciousness for some time, we can say this is a categorically different kind of pleasure. To take pleasure in simply giving Krishna pleasure. When you chant Hare Krishna, you see, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that He is the Father of us all. He is, what is that? Sarva yonishu konteya murtiyak sambhavandeya tasam brahma mahajona aham bija padakpata. The last line means, I am the seed-giving Father. We are part and parcel of him. So by His glance, it's all it's quite involved and amazing. It's, how we come into this material world. But the point is that we are just like Krishna in that purely spiritual in our nature. And we've forgotten that. We're identifying with this body. So how can we act in this body with these senses in such a way as to awaken that spiritual nature? It's not easy, because we're so conditioned to acting as the body, to, whatever's comfortable for the body, whatever's pleasurable for the body and mind, we go for that, you see. But the problem with that is that keeps you bound to this world and eventually ensures your suffering. This is one of my favorite verses in the Bhagavad Gita, 5:22, I think it is. Yehi sangsparjaja bhoga dukkayonaya evate aryantavanta konteya nateshu ramate buddha. Buddha means those who are intelligent. So he says, Yehi sangsparjaja, my dear Arjun, those who are intelligent do not take part in the pleasures that arise from the contact of the senses with the sense objects. Such pleasures, O son of Kunti, are the sources of all misery and have a beginning and an end. And so the wise do not delight in them. Well, then what other kind of pleasure can I find? That's the previous verse. Bhaya sparshesu asaktatma vindityatmani yat sukham sab brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Now that last phrase, sukham akshayam ashnute, says they experience this unbreakable happiness, unending happiness. You can't find that on the material plane. So what this verse says is, Bhaya sparshesu asaktatma, not attracted to this external sense pleasure, but bhaya sparshesu asaktatma sukham akshayam ashnute, enjoying the happiness within, sab brahma yoga yuktatma, linked in yoga with Brahman. Now Brahman is spirit, pure spirit, and that supreme Brahman is Krishna himself. It's not impersonal, not the impersonal white light. That's a certain kind of Brahma called the Brahma Jyoti. But the ultimate manifestation of spirit is the supreme spirit, Krishna. Krishna doesn't have a body. He's all spirit. It may look like a body, a body in the sense of a material body like we have. There's no spirit soul in Krishna's body. It's all spirit soul. You see? And that's the kind of body we have in the spiritual world. And our relationship with Krishna as servants and friends and parents, conjugal lovers, you see, all the relationships we have in this world, we can have, one of them is primary for us in the spiritual world. And we can enjoy that unlimitedly. Every day is a new wonderful day of pastimes, lila, for Krishna. The spiritual world, the goal of our life is ultimately play. Nothing, that is based on simply the needs of the body or something. It's all because we're joining in Krishna's play, lila. That's what play leads. You don't have to do it, but you want to do it because it's the source of the greatest happiness. And we try to enact that here, but it's a failure because everything is temporary. Time is in control. The body is imperfect. But there, the body is perfect. It's our Swarup. So, Tatastha Shakti, and then Beta Prakash, that's another very important. We're simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. We're one with Him in the sense of our qualities. We also have the senses, you see. Our senses are very minute and limited, but when we're purified, they can also interact with Krishna. We can see Him, we can hear Him, we can run and play with Him, So that's the goal. And then, so how did we get here? That's what I wanted to read this last verse. And that is Lord Chaitanya's teaching. And Krishna Buli se jiva nadi bahirmukha. Ata eva mayatare deha sangsara dukkha. Forgetting Krishna, This is our original sin, if you will. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature of this is the material world from time immemorial, and we can't trace it back. Therefore, the illusory energy, or Maya, gives them all kinds of misery in this material world. That's the threefold miseries. So this is a short explanation. I'll just read this, Srila Prabhupada's words, and then we can have some discussion if we have time. When the living entity forgets his constitutional position as an eternal servant of Krishna, he, the living entity, is immediately entrapped by the illusory external energy. The living entity is originally part and parcel of Krishna, and is therefore the superior energy of Krishna. He, the living entity, is endowed with inconceivable, minute energy that works inconceivably within the body. However, the living entity, forgetting his position, is situated in the material energy. The living entity is called the marginal energy because by nature he is spiritual, but by forgetfulness he is situated in the material energy. Thus he has the power to live either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. And for this reason, he is called marginal. Being in the marginal position, he is sometimes attracted by the external illusory energy. And this is the beginning of his material life. When he enters the material energy, he is subjected to the threefold time measurement, past, present, future. Past, present, and future belong only to the material world. They do not exist in the spiritual world. This is one of the amazing things, is that there's only the eternal present. You know, when he gets old, you know, that Krishna has his parents there, they're an ideal age, and they stay that age, you know. Anyway. Past, present, future, they do not exist in the spiritual world. The living entity is eternal, and he existed before the creation of this material world. Unfortunately, he has forgotten his relationship with Krishna. The living entity's forgetfulness is described herein as anadi, which indicates that it has existed since time immemorial. It has a beginning, but it's so long ago that we might as well call it beginningless. That's the idea. One should understand that due to his desire to enjoy himself in competition with Krishna, the living entity comes into the material existence. So the fact is, and this is a very important point, that we have these historical figures that Srila Prabhupada introduced us to. These Rupa and Sanatana Goswami and the other 6 Goswamis they are. And Srila Prabhupada himself, and he showed us, he came here, he walked among us, how we can live in this world without being entangled by it. Always being blissful and peaceful, even in dangerous situations. Srila Prabhupada was in a head-on collision in Mauritius, you may not know about, in a car. Luckily he was only slightly injured, but that was a danger. He was threatened with assassination several times. The Naxalites, those who are Indian may know who the Naxalites are. Does it ring a bell? Yeah, when he did it was in Calcutta, he was doing the first Pandal there, the first big festival. They thought this is our territory, just like the American gangsters. They claimed this is our territory. So they gave him a note. You know what the note said? Fly or die. They're terrorists. So Prabhupada was neither going to fly and he neither was going to die. So they came to the tent, you know, and Prabhupada, he told us, welcome them in, give them some nice seats. So right away they're kind of, you know, that's not usually the reaction. Give me a nice seat. Prabhupada was chanting the Brahma Samhita, you know, and that was. And then he invited them to come and have a conference with him. He said, you know, actually, we're preaching spiritual communism, because they're communists, you know. And one of the main the mottos is, from each according to his ability to each according to his needs. So when you think about it, that's the ideal of Varnashram, right? Everyone works according to his psychophysical nature, and Krishna provides everything, and they have the... So anyway, they were disarmed by that, and they became friends. But it was a danger, and there were other things like that. So Prabhupada was never really freaked out by these things. He was simply take it all in stride. And so even on this world, he was very peaceful, but also very blissful. He would lead the kirtans, and he would do puja, and just by speaking, he showed and he conveyed this blissful consciousness of being in the position of an eternal servant of Krishna. Now, why is that? Why does that give so much happiness? Because we are, again, we're part and parcel of Krishna. We are part and parcel of God. So when we can participate in God's pleasure, and He's inviting us to do that, chanting the holy name, especially in this age, this is the best way. and doing so many other services. I've been in this temple for so many years, and other temples, and there's so many duties. There's a whole crew, the pujaris who take care of these deities. Very punctual, very clean. The food you'll eat later is called prasadam, which means the grace of the Lord. It's been offered, it's been cooked with love and devotion and offered, and so it has potency. It's, you know, and when you eat it, it spiritualizes you. And so all of these services are great sources of happiness. You know, I'm not getting paid a salary, you know, all these years, but I get the greatest salary, which is that I know that my service. I worked on that Bhagavatam book, those 18 volumes, the last 6. Probably didn't have a chance to finish 77 chapters of the 10th canto. I was able to help my good friends Gopi Puranadana Prabhu and Nityananda Das Goswami back in the 80s to finish this very important, you know, very important book. So I'm not blowing my own horn here, but you know, I think they gave me $20 a week, you know, to buy toothpaste and things like that. You know, that was my salary. You know, big deal. But that wasn't what I was working for. I'm working because Srila Prabhupada wanted me to, and it was my duty, and it was a great deal of joy. And I'm telling you, the Sanskrit language. This is I have to give a plug for all these beautiful writings, beginning with the Bhagavatam. I'll give you a few samples of these verses, and these are available. I can show you how to chant. It's not that difficult. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam, the songs of the gopis separated from Krishna. So they're describing Krishna. He's walking in the forest and doing his thing, and they're back home doing their duties. The gopis are his beloved girlfriends, you know. And they're singing about him because they don't want to forget him for a moment, you see. So they describe, you can pick up, it's the chanda, the vama baha kata vama kapolo valgita buddhadada patavinam komalanga libadashita margam gopyahita yati yatta makunda vyomayana vanita sahasidha vismatasta dubadaya salajja kama margana samapata chitta kashmalam mihuda pasmatanivya. Now, when I memorized that when I was first working on it, on the 10th canto. I said, whoa, this is beautiful. I remember. There's about 20 of those. So what are they saying there? They're thinking of Krishna in the forest. They're back home doing their duties, churning butter and doing it, you know. But their minds are with Krishna. So it says, oh, Krishna is holding his flute, and I play the flute, so I know he has different sizes flute. So it says the left shoulder is on the left cheek. Oh, that's a big flute. He's playing a big flute like this. He's also got the smaller flutes like this. Like this one is. He's like. So anyway, they're visualizing. He's got his left shoulder on his left cheek, and he's playing Vama Baho Krita Vama Kapolo Volgita Bro. He's moving his beautiful eyebrows very nicely. Adararpita Venum, as he holds the flute to his lips. Komalanga de Birashita Margam, stopping the holes with his soft fingers. Komalanga Birash. Gopya, oh, gopis, listen to what happens when that happens. Then there's these gods and goddesses. You know, they have their heavenly planets, but they know Krishna's down there, so they come down in their airplanes. And you have a pair, a god and a goddess, they're flying, and they say, oh, let's listen to that. And then they come down, and from the Krishna's flute playing, the goddess is becoming a little bit embarrassed because she's there with her husband, but she's getting attracted to Krishna, you know, because it's all attractive. So that's just, you know, they're visualizing that. And it goes on like that, you know, and then they get a little more excited, and the meter changes. So as they're walking, the boys are walking into the forest with Krishna and his cows and the boys, and as he plays that flute, all of the trees and the creepers, you've seen this time-lapse photography where you can see the movie and suddenly it all blossoms right away. So this is happening in real time. So it's all getting, the fruits and flowers are suddenly on the trees, and it's so heavy that they're bowing down with their boughs, you know, with their you know, the branches and everything. So they're visualizing all this. So this is such a wonderful way of remembering Krishna. You know, the primary way, most important way, is chanting his name. Everything is there in the name. This is not ordinary sound vibration. If you try it out, you know, we have beads that we meditate, do meditative chanting on like a rosary for 2 hours every morning, 16 rounds. But also singing. You can sing at any time, or when you're at home, you know, you clap or you learn a simple instrument. And just by absorbing your mind in this name, you'll feel you'll feel. This is what I started. I didn't know much philosophy, but I was shown how to chant. I started chanting back in '71. And I was doing meditation. I tried to meditate on the holy name, on the mantra. And I just sort of, my whole consciousness kind of became more peaceful and joyful. I was working in the hospital. I thought I would try to heal my patients with the mantra. You know, it was kind of silly. Although I did have some success with my father. I won't get into that. But it is the mantra of the age. It's not something that's invented recently. It's from millions of years ago. You know, there's an Upanishad. Upanishad are part of the Vedic wisdom literatures. They're part of the Vedas. And one of them deals with this Hare Krishna mantra. And the first verse, you probably all know it already. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam Natak Padataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. These 16 names, Kali Kalmashan, can destroy all the ills and evils caused by this Kali Yuga. We're in an age now where it's very difficult to perform yoga. But it counteracts this Kali Kalmanashan. Natak Padataropaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. You can search through the whole Vedas. You won't find a better means, especially in this age, for counteraction of the age and purifying your heart and becoming advanced in yoga. This is Bhakti Yoga. The whole idea is that nothing is lost. Everything material is lost. Now your bank account, your body, your relationships, everything, that's going to end by the force of time. You see? Either before or after you die. But anything you do in Krishna consciousness, you chant just Krishna one time or the holy name, or you come to a class, you know, one of my Bhagavad Gita close to this class, then that's not lost. When you die, that's part of your bank account, spiritual. And you won't take a lower body. People who have no assets in Krishna consciousness, they could easily go down in this age and get a dog's body or bug's body. You see? But whatever you do with Krishna consciousness, Krishna will give you a body in next life to continue it. So why not? We have to invest, right? We're all investors. We're investing our time, our energy, our attention, our emotions in whatever. And now in the material state, we do invest it in material things, but that's doomed. You see, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, Mrityu sarvaharashchaham. As death, I take everything away, everything material. So why put our hopes in material relationships and happiness when it's sure to end? We should see, this is a Tato Brahma Jigyasa, the Vedanta Sutra. You know what Vedanta means? It means the end of all knowledge. And what is Srila Prabhupada's name? Bhakti Vedanta. The end of all Vedic knowledge is bhakti, is reawakening our original love for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna means all attractive. If we simply learn about Him and follow the process and become conscious of Him, we'll be attracted to Him. We read some passage in the Chaitanya Charitamrita recently. There's a book of all kinds of quotes about the glories of the Hare Krishna mantra. And it's describing there that the flute sound of Krishna. Now many of you are familiar with the rasa dance. Have you ever heard of the rasa dance of Krishna? So how does it start? He plays the flute, right? And he attracts the gopis to come out. They're irresistible. That flute is part of his all-attractive nature, very attractive. So that flute sound is manifest in this age, at this time, as the Hare Krishna mantra. So if you chant with, under the instruction of the Acharya, the spiritual master, or not, somehow or other you're chanting the holy name, you will become attracted to Krishna. And then how to pursue that, because it's also easy to forget Krishna. That's why we're here. You see? So we want to make our best effort to remember Krishna and to develop our original love for Krishna, which is the source of unending happiness. This has been taught to us, and we can experience it in the beginning stages with some effort. So that's my message to you today. And we're here to help you. I've been giving this Bhagavad Gita class for more than 30 years now, and I haven't got paid yet. But I have. My salary is, I get these letters, because now we're online, but I want to give a shout out to our good friend Tapas Prabhu. He's not initiated yet, but he's a wonderful devotee, very skilled in computers and things. He has a job. But all of these cameras and all of the YouTube and everything and the sound system, he's helped engineer that. And so You know, when I first started giving this, there was none of that. This was back in 89, 90, like that. And I would give the class, and one or two people, one would come, you know, a little late, 7:15, and most devotees, you know, but people who live nearby. And at one point, there was one lady who was coming. I said, I can't give a class just to one lady, you know. And so you have to bring a friend at least, you know. So she would bring, drag her to me. So that's what it was. I said, I don't care. You know, Prabhupada said, you can preach to the walls. If no one comes, it's, you know. There's one pastime where he's giving a program, and suddenly he starts singing, Narada Muni Bhajana Vida. And he was ecstatic, dancing. You know, what's Prabhupada? What was all that about? Didn't you see? Narada Muni came. Yes. So, but the point is, even I said, now I know, and we have a few more people. We have some regulars who come. It's a little more. But I know there's an audience out there. I'm not going viral. You go to India, and there's devotees who are speaking on YouTube. They have 1 million people listening. Yeah, our devotees. So I have my 20, 30 devotees, and that's enough for me, because I have my other service. The point is, it's all a source of happiness. Even the austerities, after a while. Getting up at 3 in the morning? Are you kidding me? It's the middle of the night. Look, if you want to stay in the ashram, you got to get there for Mangalarti. All right, I'll try it, you know. Cold shower? Are you kidding me? All right, I'm in San Diego. Not so bad. I can do it. I took my first cold shower in March, which is still winter time, in New York. I joined in New York back in '73. And it was like, this is it. Am I going to be able to take this cold shower, or do I have to leave the ashram? Okay, I'm going to try to do it, you know. So I had learned a little heating technique, breathing. Did you ever try it? I swear, to this day, if you do that when you're taking a cold shower, it may be in the middle of winter somewhere, you'll be able to feel the warmth, to be able to, you know, knock back. But the point is that the austerities become sources of happiness after some time. Oh, okay, I'm doing this, you know, sacrificing for Krishna, and, you know, you'll see his smiling form, you know. Anyway, that's really the source of the greatest happiness, because we're part and parcel of Krishna. And he's Anandamaya Vyasat, means that, this is right from the Vedanta Sutra, he is by nature full of bliss. Think about it. Wouldn't that be nice to be like that? But we can have, this is our nature, Satchit Ananda. And what do I have? We have the most boring role, you know, what is it, you know, what we wear. It costs maybe $5 in India. Is it $10 now to get a suit? I don't know. But it's very simple. So but who cares, you know? As long as if we can be connected to Krishna and be doing our duties in Krishna consciousness. So anyway, I'd like to simply recommend, please, if you don't have a Bhagavad Gita yet, try to get a Bhagavad Gita or one of our books. And try practicing this mantra. If you're interested in doing japa, we have beads. We can show you how. But just chant it, sing it, whatever. And you'll definitely feel the potency of this mantra, and it will give you a taste of Krishna consciousness. And what it did for me was that it sparked my interest in reading the books. And the books are so important. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Bhagavad Gita, of course. And the greatest thing is that you'll be getting the association of Srila Prabhupada. Association of a pure devotee is essential. And that's how best way we can associate with Srila Prabhupada, by hearing his words and trying to follow them. Okay, I'll end there. If there's any questions, we have a few minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a couple more of my poems. So if you want to avoid that, ask a question. Hare Krishna. There's Marcy over there. You know, it's a fact that on her birth certificate, they misspelled her name. It's not Marcy, it's Mercy. She goes out and distributes books. She buys them and then gives them, finds them. I saw her once in Sprouts, you know, it's famous Sprouts over here. And there she was, and she got a book out, and she gave it sincerely to one of the guys who were putting the lettuce and everything out there, you know, right? Probably not the first time, but the last time. And you can see, when did you start coming to class? This was like 12 years ago or something?
It's been 10 years.
10 years, okay. And within the last few years, he started a book distribution program, I think, yeah. 5 years, yeah. And so just to, to give these books out, she can afford to do that, there's a real happiness there. I mean, you're giving people a chance, and introducing them to Krishna, And I get some of that, by working on the books, because the books need to be produced, so. And we have, anyway, it's the greatest happiness is to be Krishna conscious and help others to be Krishna conscious. So don't miss out on it. Read the book, chant Hare Krishna, and keep coming to the temple. And if you can't do that, check out the YouTube channel, 715, and you can get it from the, I think the front desk has the ways you can get it. Okay, no comments, questions? We have someone? Oh, there's someone. No, she's pointing at you. But we have microphones because we have an audience. So we ask if you hold it up. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Wonderful lecture. It's wonderful to be here and around all the devotees. My question is, a lot of the time we hear people in all walks, they say, oh, I should write a book. Uh-huh. So if someone is inclined to write a book, how, on any subject, whatever, if it's math is their strong point, or cooking, or anything, what would you say, and especially for a devotee who's inclined to write a book, how should we approach that?
Well, the first point is that the shastra, the scripture, Krishna doesn't pull any punches. He's telling it like it is, and it's all the books do, because that's what we need. And first of all, before we write a book, we should try to understand what the benefit will be for the reader. And the fact of the matter is that the reason why we're here, why we keep going round and round and birth and death, all these, is because of our mind, because of our ideas. And in our conditioned state, I would say, of ignorance, who we are, it's all dependent on the infinite variety of our bodily identification and relationships we have, and all these, in human life, with our big brain, you see. But it's part and parcel of our conditioning. And when we leave this body, it's those thoughts, it's our consciousness, the primary consciousness, which is going to take us to the next body. So what I would say is that, and I'll tell you something. We have this thing called a prison ministry. You may be aware of that. And they put out a newsletter, which is mostly for the prisoners, but I've been writing them for so long that they sent me this newsletter. And the writings of these prisoners who are Krishna conscious, because they say, yes, we're in the prison, but now I realize I'm always in the prison. Even if I get out, I'll be in the prison of this material. You know what, Durga, have you heard of Durga? Durga is another name for the material energy. It means prison. Durga, can't go. That's what it means. So my point is that learn the basics of Krishna consciousness, and then write your realizations. Prabhupada wanted us to. That's what the Bhagavad, the Back to Godhead magazine was all about, which we don't see so much anymore. But that was a vehicle for devotees to write the realizations in a language that's most easily understandable by contemporaries. Because Prabhupada, he's coming from a foreign country. So, and then I would simply ask inspiration in your books, like the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. There's something called the Mangalacharan, which Srila Prabhupada is praying to his previous acharyas and to Lord Chaitanya and finally to Krishna before he writes. So the whole idea is that what is our writing going to do? If our writing should try to we should try to express our realizations and also try to help others become Krishna conscious, and you'll get inspiration from Krishna to do that. Sincerely. Otherwise, the writing can just, like the internet, the Tower of Babel. There's so many things going on, writing, that's just go on to further keep people in ignorance. You know, there's a verse. There's always a verse. Beginning of the second canto. Parikshit, the end of the first canto, Parikshit was hearing, he's a great king, but he was cursed to die in 7 days. So he gave up his kingdom and everything and just sat on the bank of the Ganges, and he heard the Bhagavatam from Srimad Goswami, who was the first to hear it from his father, Vyasadeva. And so he asks a question. It starts with a question. At the end of the first canto, second canto, the Bhagavatam begins again. There's even Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Shukadev is answering. First he says, he praises the question, because the question is, what should one think about when death approaches? Because this King Parikshit knew he had only 7 days to live, you know. So he says, oh, very nice question. It's for the benefit of the whole humanity. Those who ask the question, those who answer the question, those who hear the answer will all be benefited. But then he said, Shrota vyadini rajan ninang santi sahasrata apashyatam atatatam griheshu grihamedinam. He says, for those who are simply embroiled in materialistic life, there are millions of subject matters for hearing. And those subject matters just help to spread the illusion and the ignorance. And so the whole point is the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, all these books, all this gives, and the Hare Krishna mantra gives us subject matter for hearing and for understanding and you know, writing that will help others to become enlightened. So that's what I would suggest, is that read and then write your realizations, and if you get good at it, then you can get published in the back of the Godhead. I'll give you the address. Or you can write to the prisoners. They just become a correspondent. I'm telling you, they're so inspiring. They're writing their realization in this newsletter. It's amazing. Anyway, that's my suggestion for that. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Yes, Prabhu. But you're gonna, yeah. No. We have an audience. They want to hear it too. Thank you.
So, the quick question, Prabhu. For Ramayana, the book from Bhakti Vikas Prabhu that you recommended during Sri Ramanavami, the kids loves that actually. They read like 3 to 4 times now. And for Mahabharata, which book that you recommend for Mahabharata, not Bhagavatam, which book you recommend, Ji, from ISKCON, Prabhu?
Yes.
Like Ramayana,
Yes.
which book for Mahabharata?
Yes, we had. Ramayana is that condensation, the essential, right? It's not the whole Ramayana. Bhakti Vikas Swami.
Yeah, the Bhakti Vikas Swami Prabhu Ramayana book is amazing. The kids are enjoying to
I
the
know,
core.
but it's not.
But I'm looking for a Mahabharata book.
I understand the question. I'm just explaining. There is a condensation of the Mahabharata. They're done very nicely. And I can show you, yes.
Oh, great.
Yes. The storyline and everything.
Exactly.
But not everything. I'll tell you a story. Back in, I don't know, I was about 88. We had finished the Bhagavatam, and we were saying, well, let's do the Mahabharata. And so Vidyananda Maharaj translated the first, I think, Adi Kanda or Adi Parva.
Parva.
Yeah. And it's pretty long, 70, 80 chapters, It's big. So I was tasked with editing it. So I'm reading through, and finally we come to, you may not know this, but there's a planet of snakes near the bottom of the universe, mostly snakes. And this was, it sounds amazing. And this chapter was just one name after another of the different snakes.
It is full of Krishna related, like Bhagavatam, through Chaitanya's point of view. It's fine to take it up offline if you're running short of time.
It's the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay.
But there's so much philosophy there. Lord Chaitanya speaking, the Goswami speaking, conversations. So it's simultaneously pastimes as well as philosophy instruction, and with Srila Prabhupada's purport, which quotes Bhaktisiddhanta and quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It is the pinnacle of the books of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Prabhupada gave us the Gita as it is, he gave us Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the ultimate Purana, you see, and then he gave us the Chaitanya Charitamrita, postgraduate, but you can read them all and be fully enlightened.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we have to end there. So is our Pujari here to give some announcements? There you are.